Welcome to another edition of the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. My name is Paul D'Allegro, and I have a good guest today and a great guest. I don't know, it's all in one. Dr. Travis Hearne. Welcome to the show, Travis.
No, thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully I crossed from that good guest to that great guest.
Yeah, well, you're an impressive bio. Let me tell the folks out there a little bit about you. Travis leads the America's cybersecurity partner team at Cisco. That's how we know each other, and is the founder and CEO of Titanium Consulting Group, international best-selling author, Marine Corps combat veteran, former intelligence officer with the Defense Intelligence Agency, cybersecurity industry expert, speaker, father, husband, and son. Not too shabby.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, I love having guests like you on, especially not ex, you're never an ex-Marine, right? That I've been corrected many times on that. So I love having military officers on because I think the military teaches a lot of discipline and hard work, and that can translate, to the rest of your life, right? So that's really going to be the focus of our conversation today is, lessons learned, leadership styles, leadership skills, and how the military has helped you in your leadership journey. So I'll just start out by telling us a little bit about, your military background and how you've transitioned into leadership.
Yeah, man, it's been a cool road. So I joined the Marine Corps in 2006, and I was a late bloomer, and I was an enlisted guy, so knuckle dragon enlisted guy. So enlisted in 2006, and then spent the first 5 years of my Marine Corps career deploying back and forth from Iraq and Afghanistan. I was in Iraq from 2008, 2009, and then we shipped to Afghanistan in 2010, and it was. That's where really I found this love for leadership, because you could see the spectrum of leadership. Yeah. You see the how leadership can literally save lives, and you can see the other side of the spectrum as well. So when I saw how powerful leadership was, I knew I wanted it. That's what I wanted to study. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to be a part of. Because I believe that if we lead people well, and people lead people, then our businesses will succeed. We'll be able to scale, do all those good things that we need to do to create revenue. But at the core of it is to treat our people well. So after our Iraq and Afghanistan, I was stationed here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, at United States Northern Command, where I was leading teams on the counterterrorism mission at first, and then I switched over to counter cartel and counter narcotics missions, and then a counter cyber mission. So ran those for about from 2016 to 2021, and then I came over to Cisco in 2021.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, that'll work.
Now, if I remember correctly, I mean, a big part of what has happened, you leading men and in Iraq, you did 2 tours. You had some, you got injured over there. It's kind of shaped your life, from what I understand. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the men you've worked with. And I know you lost a guy over there too. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. And when you talk about, leading people, and I'll talk about the guy that, helped me learn how to lead, who we lost in Afghanistan, man. When you're in that kind of environment, when leadership has that high of stakes, when it is truly loss of life, you need to get it right. So me being, it's from what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, I do want to hone in on this guy, Jacob Light's story, man. Jacob Light, he ended up being the 100th military person killed in Afghanistan. So the exactly 100th person. He was killed on May 27th of 2010, a couple days after my birthday. But Jake and I, the funny story about the Marine Corps. So Marine Corps, it's called ground fighting. So it's like you get to your first unit, and you basically just beat each other up for like a whole 2 weeks. And it's very primal, and that's kind of like your introduction into the battalion. I was with 1st Light Armor Reconnaissance Battalion, and the first person I got lined up with was Jake. And Jake was probably 6'4", 6'5", but a beanpole of a guy. And I was 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I was like, man, I'm going to take this guy out and I'm going to move on to the next person. And I'm just going to
Yeah.
go line down the line, take care of everybody. So I was looking beyond him. I was like, oh, I don't know who this kid is, but he doesn't know what he's up against. So on the count of go, like 1, 2, 3, go, I jump at Jake, and 8 to 10 seconds later, my eyes slowly start to blink, and I look up, and there's blue. All I'm seeing is blue skies, and I'm being drugged back by 2 other Marines. They're like, "Yeah, Jake tapped you out probably in about 7 seconds." So he got rid of me relatively quickly. I underestimated him, but from that moment on, I knew I had to know this guy. He was I was like, who is this guy that just like, and he was going for, after me, he just went to the next Marine, to the next Marine, to the next Marine, and just kept tapping people out. It was fun to watch. But getting to know Jake over the last couple of years, I found out that he had already been injured. He was injured in Iraq. He was in an IED explosion in Iraq. And for 2 years, he fought tooth and nail to get back to leading Marines in combat. And finally, he made it. So he was already a Purple Heart recipient before he ever got to our battalion and before we ever ground fought. And learning from him, learning how to lead Marines truly at a very, very basic and very, very powerful level changed the way I lead. So a couple years go by, we make it to Afghanistan in 2010, and we're there for a couple months. And it's my birthday is May 24th. So May 24th, Jake brings me this. I don't know if the listeners out there know what MREs are, but the meals ready to eat. They come in a bag, and we're given those things as we are outside the wire. They're calories to make sure we're filled. And a part of those is there's a little pound cake if you're lucky. If you're lucky enough to open one that has like a cinnamon pound cake, then you've hit the jackpot. And so what Jake did was a double-edged sword to me on my birthday. He brought me a pound cake, a delicious cinnamon crusted pound cake that was in the MRE, but he put a number 27 for my birthday in mustard. So I was not going to eat that thing.
Lovely.
But that's the kind of guy Jake was. He was hilarious. He was this country boy, loved his Marines. So that was May 24th, and May 27th, he was hit by an IED and killed instantly. So lost him. And, when we talk about leadership, I spiraled into a place of very, very terrible leadership. I started running my Marines into the dirt. I was just tunnel vision on vengeance, on revenge, and trying to make sure that we could fit with it, that me and my Marines got whoever wasn't responsible for putting that IED in the ground. We were dead set on it. And for 5 days, I ran my Marines into the dirt. Didn't eat, barely slept. How
did they respond to that, by the way?
They were crushed because they knew Jake too. They knew Jake. They knew some of the other guys that were injured in that IED explosion. And I didn't care at the time. I went full, I just went full Marine Corps mode, and we didn't. And then about 5 days later, I got pulled off, and my staff sergeant at the time was just like, "Hey, you're benched for the next couple of days. Your Marines are starving. They haven't slept. You're running them into the dirt. You're not treating them the way that you need to be treating them."
So this is in Iraq during deployment. This
is in Afghanistan in 2010. Yeah. So this is in Afghanistan. Okay. And so he pulls me off the truck and takes my Marines away from me and says, "You need to grieve. You need to think about this, and you need to come back better." So through a lot of connecting and understanding that, I did need to change, I was able to get back on the truck a couple days later. My Marines forgave me after a long apology, which I absolutely needed to do. And we ended up finishing out the deployment in a fantastic way. So, but that's one of the leadership lessons I'll never forget, is that I failed horribly in some of the worst environment you can fail in, and I was still able to bounce back. So that's one thing about failure that I say, like, whenever you fail, there's always a chance to bounce back. It may not look the same, but there's always a chance to bounce back.
Well, like you said, in war, the stakes cannot be any higher. This isn't like, I failed a math exam today and then, tomorrow I'll take it again or something. This is a little bit different. It's got to be. I never served in the military, Travis. I probably one of my biggest regrets in life. Looking back, I should have. And at the time, though, I got out of high school in '77, so it was right after the Vietnam War. And quite honestly, back in those days, the military wasn't very sexy.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, I wish I had done it. I had a few friends that did going after college and went to OCS and had enjoyed it. But again, I think it should be mandatory. It's coming from a guy who never served. That's easy for me to say, right? But I really do think it should be mandatory.
Yeah, and I got a 7, 9, and 11-year-old. They're all boys, and we live right down the street from the Air Force Academy. And every time we drive by, I'm like, see that school right over there? That'd be an amazing school to go to. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. And then
Yep.
my oldest one, he's like, I'm gonna fly planes at Annapolis. I'm like, you do you, but I will support you in that in 1,000%.
Hey, either West Point, Annapolis, or Colorado Springs, right? That's where I
Yep.
think the Air Force Academy is, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Neither of those would be bad choices.
No. And yeah, they love it too. So it's that instilling of that in them too, that service.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I think you told me a little bit about this last week, is you got injured pretty severely over in Iraq. Is that correct? And that did that end your career in the military, kind of as active duty, and then had to do some other
No.
things? Talk a little, because I know that this is all coming into play of your leadership, right? It's all
Yeah.
intertwined, right?
Yeah. So I'd broken my collarbone in Afghanistan, and it broke it pretty significantly. But I didn't know it until I got back stateside. I knew something was wrong, but it was just, you're in that environment where things are just going, you're just doing things, and you never really understand exactly what happened. There's still a lot of pain going on, but there's a lot of pain going on in a lot of us. So it wasn't something that we just had to stay in the fight. So when I got home, it didn't put it into my military career, but when I got home and then a couple years later, ended up getting orders somewhere and went through a medical screening process, and they ended up saying like, hey, this isn't going to be the greatest the greatest outcome for you if you end up going over there. So ended up leaving the military in 2016 and then joining the intelligence community. So it was funny because then I could deploy for the intelligence community as a civilian, and do that kind of fun stuff. So after the military, I was very, very fortunate enough to step into a leadership position at the Defense Intelligence Agency and continue to do some really good work. Then I wasn't done. I wasn't finished with what I wanted to do with as far as protecting the country and helping others and serving. So it was a great opportunity to continue to step into that.
Nice. How long did you do that for?
So I did that. I worked for DIA from 2016 to 2019, and then I switched over to be a Department of the Air Force civilian. So I was an Air Force civilian for the last couple years of my kind of my government service career.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you went to the dark side in the public sector, right?
I switched over to the public sector. Yeah, the public sector came a calling. After I finished, so kind of a wraparound story. And the way that all happened was, I was throughout my military career and then working for the intelligence community. I was going to school. I knew that I had my master's degree. I kind of pigeonholed myself with my master's degree. And my master's is in Homeland Security and Geospatial Intelligence. So that's very honed in for government work, which I was already in. So when I started thinking about, okay, what's the next step? What do I want to do? I want to lead a team that does something different than what we are already doing. And so Cisco came calling. I just finished up my doctorate in organizational change and leadership. So that was the impetus to switch over to Cisco, and it worked kind of up through, the individual contributor role at first, and then started leading team and leading the team that I'm leading now. And it's just been it was all a culmination of what I learned in the military, a culmination of what I learned for the leading teams in the intelligence community, and what I learned as an individual contributor at Cisco. That was a huge learning curve, stepping from the military world into a company like Cisco, or any company in general. It's a total culture shock.
Yeah, Cisco's a big behemoth too.
Yeah.
Not an easy company to navigate, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's not. And when I came in, I had to, even just the acronyms were completely, I was like, that acronym does not mean that in what I'm familiar with, and having to relearn all the acronyms was like a month-long process. But it was professionally probably one of the best things that I ever did, was switching careers into this space.
Nice. And even though, like you said, you're an individual contributor, I'm a firm believer that, you don't have to have a title to be a leader, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure Cisco noticed that in you, just your leadership skills in general, and helped you move up the stack rank. But to dovetail off of that, it sounds like you've had a lot of different things influencing your leadership skills and your leadership journey. What do you think has had the most influence? I'm going to take a guess and say military, and how so?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple different things. So the military is one because, like I said, that's where I saw that scale of how important leadership really is. I saw the scale of how what about of the impact that a leader could have on his or her people, and it was just
Right.
something that really just drove me. I was like, okay, I got to learn everything about this because, I just talked about Jake, and good leadership, the leadership that he was under, he had a great leader, and because of that great leader, Jake was the only one that died in that incident. Had he not been under the leader that he was under, it could have turned out very differently. So the military is a huge influence, and also my mom, she passed away 3 years ago, and it's like her. She was an Irish just spitfire. Like, she would take on any task, take on anybody, just go for gusto in everything that she did. And I really picked up a lot of that from her. And just the
That's
way that
awesome.
she lived, the way that she operated. And she died on May 25th. So the end of May is a really crazy time for
Yeah.
remembering awesome people. But so
Yeah.
my mom and in the military.
That's awesome. I feel the same way about my mother. She died at 95 a few years
Mm,
ago, and toughest woman I know.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
hands down. Just I don't. This is about you today. I don't want to get too much into my family, but similar in that regard.
Yeah.
My mother was the backbone of our family, and it really was the driving force to make us be better.
Yep.
To be quite
Absolutely. Same
honest.
here.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. So now, have you had any? Leadership's a funny thing, man. I look at leaders throughout my whole life. If I look at the guys that I've worked with, not just that manage me or my leaders, just different people, you can see that some people to this day you would run through a wall for.
Yeah.
Just instinctually, just have that feeling like this is a solid person. I'd do anything for them. Then there's the other, what I call the the cliff theory, where if they were hanging on a cliff and they were teetering and gonna fall, would I reach out and save them? I'd just back off. I'd probably back off.
Mm,
I'm half joking on that, but you know what I mean? I think
yeah.
the point is they fall into a few different categories. And what do you think of the main characteristics of a good leader versus a poor leader?
Yeah, good characteristics of a leader, man. It's just they take care of their people. That's the number one thing, is that their focus is on taking care of their people. And it's that's the first and foremost thing that I would say. A leader that is selfless, taking care of their people first, putting their people above them. And this goes into kind of the rest of it too, is like learning as much as you can of the business that you are leading in order to help your people succeed. It's all about helping your people succeed. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not
Yeah,
about it's not about the leader succeeding. It's not about, it's not about what I need to do as a team lead. It's about, how do I equip my people to do the best job possible that they can in order for them to be highly successful. Because that ripples down to my success, to my
right.
boss's success. It just, the ripple effect is huge when it comes to taking care of your people. And then
Yeah,
learning and knowing what your business is, learning the business as well as
yeah,
you can to be able to equip your people to be able to do a good job. And it's just, when I talked about this in my last book. It's transformational versus transactional leadership. As leaders, we need to be transformational and not transactional. What I mean by that is transactional is very much, you do this for me and then I'll give you this. It's a transaction. And a lot of leaders lead that way. And, some people have to lead that way because of the business that they're in, or the way that they've understood leadership, or how they're, what they're gold on, or whatever that looks like. But when you dig into transformational leadership, when you really dig into the culture of a team, and you dig into the mission and the vision of what you're trying to build and how you're trying to do things, for me, like in a huge company like Cisco, oftentimes teams can get lost in the sauce. But if
yeah.
we are going to
Agreed.
stand out and we're going to do really good work, we're going to transform the way that our team and that business is done. The way our team goes at the business is very different from other teams that have the same kind of book of business. We're very relational. We're very transformational, because we want to be able to build relationships first and then take the business wherever it needs to go from there. It's very much a people person style of leadership. So that to me that's the key to leading people. Key to leading is to lead people, lead your people well, and equip them to do a better job than you ever would. And that's another thing. Like if you're a leader, the best thing you can do is train your people to be better than you are, and help them to get to whatever level they want to get to.
Yeah, I think a lot of insecure leaders don't want that. They want to be the smartest person in the room at all times. But secure people, that's what I've noticed too in my career, is that people that feel good about themselves and are secure in themselves don't have an issue with people being smarter than them and better than them.
And that's like when I hired this team, I hired our team is brand new. We came on in January, but my key criteria was like, okay, these people have to be smarter than me. And luckily they all are. I wanted them, like my mindset on this thing is like each of them run their own businesses. Each of them it's a kind of a phrase called entrepreneurs. Each of them are entrepreneurs. They run their own business within this big organization that is Cisco, but they run their business. And I am there to be the board of directors, and they are, and help them and guide them and coach them. But ultimately, like, they got to be the smart ones in the room, because it's proven to be one of the best things that I was able to do, was to hire people that were way smarter than I am.
So what was some of the criteria you were looking for outside? It's all the basics, right? Years of experience and educational levels and all that. But really, what were you looking for?
So we set a team as before I started the hiring process, I set kind of a foundational principles of what we were going to build our team upon. And as like a military dude, I broke it into an acronym, like, cause I can do that. And it was GRIT, GRIITT. And I added more letters because I'm a military guy. I can do whatever I want. So right. This was the criteria that I was, as far as culture fit and what we were trying to build for our team, was it's going to be, the G is growth. We need to be able to grow the business, and we need to grow personally and individually. So it's not just about growing the business. What are your plans for growth for yourself? What do you want to do in 2 years, 1 year, 5 years? What is your growth plan for yourself? And what is the growth plan for the business? R was resilience. I needed to look for resilient people, because the book of business that we go after is going to be tough. Anything that we do, if it's worth doing, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. So we have to be resilient. Our team had to be resilient. They had to have thick skin. Integrity. That is the biggest piece of my hiring criteria, is that we have to be people of integrity. And we are going to be people of integrity with our partners, with our customers, within internal Cisco as well. And then we also talk about trust. So one of the T's is trust. Trust kind of goes into that integrity bucket.
Yeah.
Forgot about innovation. So one of the other I's is innovation, I had to hire people that were going to do things differently. So one of the other I's is innovation. What are your ideas for doing something differently? And then T, trust, and then the other T is transformation, which we already talked about. So that's kind of the foundation on which I wanted to build my team, and that's how I hired. How do you fit, one, your cybersecurity knowledge and what you know in the space where you came from, but also culturally, are you going to be able to fit into are you going to be able to stand on this foundation that we're building?
Yeah. How hard was it to put that team together, do you think?
Man, it was a sprint, because we were told we had to put this team together really, really quickly. But man, this team was put together on purpose, and it was not by me. We were able to hire a team of rock stars. We were able to ask the right questions. We were able to we had the right people on the hiring panels to be able to put together the team that we have. And the work that we did behind the scenes before the hiring process even began was how we were able to create this team.
Yeah. Now, did you form this team from an internal pool or external pool?
Both. So we had both external and internal hires for this team, and we wanted the best, and we wanted the best culture fits. So that's where nice. We went with. Yeah.
And how long is this group in existence?
We've been a team since December.
Okay, so it's pretty new then.
Very new. Yeah, very, very new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was this a different business model for Cisco, a new group, new model, or were you replacing someone?
No, this was a brand new go-to-market strategy. This is a brand new thing for Cisco. So we were created because I think we saw the power in the partner environment. And we saw that we needed to put more resources into that as far as security was concerned. So Cisco made a great investment to be able to really go after the channel and to really make that a priority, because we saw the value in it, and we understand the how much value our partners can contribute to that total addressable market. And we also realized that we weren't putting our best foot forward when it came to the channel. So this is an effort to right that ship.
Very nice. And you're not going to get any argument out of me because I happen to work for one of those channel partners. So
yep.
I like your style. And I agree with you. I think, we're in the front lines of things, right? I don't think Cisco or any major manufacturer can scale if you don't have partners like us.
Oh, 100%. We can't do anything without the partners. It's a huge part of our ecosystem, and our success is because of partners like yours and like partners like you. And again, it's without the relationships that we're continuing to build right now, we would not be successful in this. And I don't think, Cisco and as a whole, like we do business through our partners and with our partners. So it's a big part of what we're focusing on.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen over the years, companies go through different evolutions of how they view the channel. There's certain, I won't name names, but certain partners out there, manufacturers out there that feel they don't need the channel, right? They think they're better than the channel. And so that has a whole host of problems. But Cisco's always been great to work with, and I'm glad I got to meet you and some of your team members. And I think the biggest thing with the channel, if I could give you any advice at all, what I see is the best people that we work with are the ones that are front and center, that you see a lot. There's a high level of engagement, and when you need help, they're there for you, and it promotes you to think of their products kind of first and their solutions first. So that would be the one advice I'd give you. We have partners we never hear from, and guess what? We don't sell a ton of their products, but the ones that give us a lot of attention and support, we tend to lean that direction, because the reality is there's a lot of good products out there, Travis.
Yeah,
a lot of good solutions out there, and we can sell any of them.
Yeah, and Paul, that is the reason why my team specifically was created. We heard that, hey, where's Cisco? We don't see them. They're not in our offices. So we responded with, yep, okay, my team is going to be, they're a field facing team. They're going to be in offices. They're going to be in front of partners. We are going to reintroduce ourselves in a big way to the channel ecosystem, and the partner ecosystem. And we are going to be there. I'm hoping that I get a bunch of emails from partners saying, hey, you got to get X, Y, or Z out of our, they're there every day. Like, we're going to start charging them rent. I'm like, okay, I'll pay their rent then. Let them stay there.
No, I can tell you, and I know that happens sometimes, or with it's like it's too much, but I'd rather have that than not at all.
Absolutely.
I like to know that I have someone that I can call when I need them. Like, I don't have to think about, hey, who is that person at Cisco I've got to call? Then I've got to call one of my colleagues. No, if someone's front and center all the time, you don't have to think about it. You have to call them when you need help, or call them to strategize, and have a go forward plan. So I like what you're doing. I think you're going to be successful. I'm knowing you, that the little that I do know about you, I think you're going to be a big success, and hopefully we'll start working with your team a lot more. We've already started, by the way.
Yeah.
So
no, thank you, Paul. And also, it's when going back to the partner and the channel and why it's so important. I'm a huge believer that more minds are better than one as far as how do we do business. So the more minds and the more brains that we have talking about security and talking about, your customers and being able to understand what the field is saying is way better than us just doing it by ourselves. So that's the importance of the channel and the partner ecosystem can't be understated as far as where we're going. And it just makes business better. Doing business with partners makes business, it just makes it better.
Yeah, I heard a line once. It's from a basketball coach. It was Dale Brown. He used to coach at LSU back 80s, 90s. I saw him speak once, and this line always stuck with me. The power in me is we.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense, right? It just, you try to go it alone. I tell young salespeople this: if you take a deal, if you try to do something on your own and you lose, that's way worse than including your team and losing, because at least you've covered every base. So if you lose, and we all lose deals, you're going to lose them. But if you lose it alone, that's a no-no.
Yeah,
you got
absolutely.
So that's probably a military type thing as well, is just teamwork.
Yeah, if we're gonna win, we're gonna win together. If we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose together. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's teamwork. We're all gonna go. There's no no Marine left behind. That's one of the biggest things. Or no, yeah, that's what we do, and that's what our team does.
Yeah, so you've only been in this role for a few months. The question I was going to ask was, and I guess you can, where do you see this leading for you? Just on an individual base. I know today you get head down trying to build this team out, be successful. But what's the plan long term? Do you think you'd be this?
Yeah, I mean, the plan long term is I think that as we're successful in reinvigorating the channel, that this team is going to grow, and this is going to be something that is going to, like I said, we're going to transform the way that we do business in the channel. And it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of value to my team. I'm hoping what's in the future is I hope that all of my team, whoever wants to take a leadership position somewhere, I hope we grow to a point where, hey, I'm going to I'm recommending people to go lead teams here, lead teams there. I mean, that's the biggest. If people that want to lead, I want them to go lead. So that's a big part of my job right now, and a big part of my focus. So if I tell them, my team, like, if you are here in 2 years and you don't want to be, if you want to be somewhere else, that's my fault. That I did something wrong, and I didn't get you to where you wanted to be. So that's where I see this team growing. I see the success I see us continuing to have success based on the focus that we have now with our partners and this reinvigoration of the channel. And I think it's our team's going to grow. And we're just going to we're going to make a really good positive impact on the way Cisco does business.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
If someone, I know you're an author too. We didn't even touch on your books, by the way. So
that's all right.
If someone wanted to get one of your books or get in touch with you, how would they do it?
Yeah. So LinkedIn's the best way. That's where I do most of my interactions. So just find me on LinkedIn. It's Dr. Travis Hearne. I have my book that launched 2 years ago. It's called Hybrid, a guide for successfully leading on-site and remote teams. You can get that on Amazon. It's right behind my head. If you can see, if y'all are seeing, there it is right there. That's what it looks like. And then I have another book coming out in November called Through the Storm: Lessons from Resilient Leaders. And this one, and we'll have to do another episode when that thing comes out, because it takes stories like the one that I told about Jacob, and it pulls out leadership lessons from there, and it gives you actionable steps on, hey, I went through this. This is what I learned, and this is how you put this into play in your day-to-day leadership lives. And like so that's coming out in November, but that's where you can find me. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, if we have you on again, I'll have to read that book. I try to read. Sometimes I have authors on to talk about a specific book. This wasn't the case today, but I try to read the book, makes sense, right? I usually try to read the book before I have a guest on, so I can at least understand what they're trying to do and ask some good questions. So, but yeah, I could have guys like you on every day, man. I love what you're doing. I love the military. I love the leadership that it builds, and, just keep up the great work, man. You're an inspiration to a lot of people. And I think you're going to do great things at Cisco. And like I said, we're just starting our relationship with your team, and I think it's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, Paul. No, I'm super excited for this. I mean, this is why we were. I get goosebumps just thinking about like what you just said, like the relationship building piece that we're going to have and launch. Like this is the secret sauce. Like this right here is the secret sauce. So thank you so much for having me on just to talk about, leadership. That's something I'm passionate about, something I'm very, very passionate about. So grateful for you to have me on. Yeah.
Oh, you're quite welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. Like I said, I love meeting guys like you, and it's an honor to have you on. Thank you for your service, by the way. Really appreciated. We need it. We need it more than ever. The country's, this is crazy times in the world, not just here, crazy times in the world with everything's going on in Europe and the Middle East, and, crazy. I don't know what the answers are. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Leadership. Let's get some good leadership.
Yeah.
Let's start leading people well. Let's start having conversations, having hard conversations, having cordially hard conversations. I mean, that's just, that's it.
Well, great. Well, I think we'll end it on that, Travis. Really enjoyed having you on. And like I said, when that next book comes out, I think we may have to have you on again. That's for that's a definite.
That sounds great, man.
All right. Well, that's it for another edition of the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. My name is Paul Delegro, signing off. Until next time.